There are moments in life when it feels like everything is falling apart. And the worst part is you don't hear anything from above. You cry out, you pray, you ask for signs, and all you get is silence, not even a whisper. And in that silence, it's easy to believe that God has turned his back on you, that somehow you've done something wrong, or maybe you were never worthy in the first place. But let me tell you something, silence isn't absence. Silence is often preparation. Think about it. When a teacher gives you a test, they're quiet. When an artist steps back from the canvas, they're not abandoning the painting. They're observing, giving space for beauty to emerge. And just like that, God sometimes steps back, not to leave you, but to allow something deeper to grow in you. Some of the most profound transformations in your life don't happen when everything is loud, clear, and easy to understand. They happen in the quiet, in the waiting, in the space where you feel like nothing is happening. But in truth, everything is happening. Just beneath the surface, we live in a world addicted to immediacy, instant answers, instant feedback, instant results. And when it comes to our relationship with God, we want the same thing. We want a sign, a miracle, a loud yes. But growth doesn't work like that. Trust doesn't work like that. Faith doesn't work like that. The seed doesn't scream while it's growing. It grows in darkness, quietly, patiently. It breaks through the shell, pushes through the dirt, and only then does it touch the light. And you, right now, might be in your seed phase. You might be buried in what feels like disappointment, failure, heartbreak. But you are not buried to be forgotten. You are planted to rise. That silence you're hearing, it's sacred. It's where God is working on the parts of you that words cannot reach. It's where your character is being built, where your endurance is being forged, and where your faith is being purified, not through comfort, but through resistance. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know that silence can feel like the coldest answer. But you don't plant a seed and dig it up the next morning because you don't see anything. You water it. You trust it. You protect it. And most of all, you wait. There's a reason we're not always given everything we pray for the moment we ask. Sometimes what you're asking for is so big, so beautiful, so deeply aligned with your purpose that rushing it would ruin it. So God waits, not to hurt you, but to honor the potential within you. There's a story I heard once about a child who tried to help a butterfly out of its cocoon too early. The child saw the butterfly struggling and thought, "It must be stuck. I'll help." So he gently pulled at the cocoon and opened it. The butterfly did come out, but it couldn't fly because it was the struggle to break free that gave its wings strength. Without that pressure, it never developed what it needed to survive. And that's how God's silence works sometimes. It feels like struggle, like you're alone in the cocoon. But in that very silence, your wings are being formed, strength is being created, resilience is being born. And the silence isn't God ignoring you. It's God preparing you for a life you haven't even imagined yet. Sometimes we think, if I don't hear anything, it means nothing is happening. But silence is full of movement. Stillness is full of meaning. It's where the deepest transformation takes place, where the foundation gets laid, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. The most powerful moments of your life are often the ones no one sees. The nights you cried and still got up the next morning. The days you wanted to quit but didn't. The moments you whispered a prayer, heard nothing, and still chose to believe. That's when you're being built. That's when your faith becomes unshakable. Not because everything is easy, but because you kept going even when it wasn't. So if you're in a season where God feels silent, don't give up. Don't walk away. Don't mistake his stillness for absence. He's closer than you think, closer than your next breath. And sometimes the most loving thing he can do is let you grow. He's not done with you. The silence is part of the plan. Pain has a way of making us feel small. It shrinks the world down to what hurts, to what's missing, to what's broken. When you're in the middle of pain, whether it's the loss of someone you love, betrayal by someone you trusted, the collapse of a dream you poured everything into. It's hard to see beyond it. It becomes your whole reality. And in those moments, you begin to wonder if God is real. Why would he let me feel this way? If he cares, why am I suffering? It's such a human question, one we've all whispered in the dark. But here's what I want you to hear, not just with your ears, but with your soul. Your pain has a purpose you can't yet see. I know that's not what we want to hear in the middle of the storm. We want a rescue. We want an explanation. We want the pain to stop. But growth doesn't usually come in comfort. And the truth is, some of the most beautiful parts of who you are today were born out of something painful you never asked for. Think about the strongest people you know, the ones who radiate empathy, wisdom, kindness, resilience. None of that was handed to them. It was carved into them by experience. It was shaped in the fire. It was built in the silence. People who've never known pain often don't know depth. But those who've walked through fire, they carry something different, something unshakable. What you're feeling right now may seem unfair. It may feel senseless. But pain is not random. Pain is a message, a redirection, a transformation in disguise. It's not punishment. It's preparation. Sometimes the worst moments are what wake us up to who we really are. Sometimes it's the loss that leads us to our purpose. Sometimes it's the heartbreak that opens us to a kind of love we never thought we deserved. We often pray for strength, not realizing that pain is the path to that strength. We ask for wisdom, not realizing that wisdom comes from learning, failing, feeling, and surviving. We ask to be used for something greater, not realizing that to be used greatly, we often have to be broken deeply. And I get it. That's a hard truth to hold, especially when you're tired, when it feels like life keeps knocking you down over and over again. You start asking, how much more can I take? And here's what I want to tell you. You're not being broken down. You're being broken open. There's a version of you that can only be revealed through this. A stronger you. A wiser you. A more compassionate you. This version doesn't come from easy days. It's born in the struggle, built in the heartbreak. It's developed in the moments no one else sees, when you're weeping quietly, still choosing to believe there's a point to all of it. And there is. Think back to the most painful chapter of your life so far. Maybe it was years ago, or maybe it was just last week. But if you look closely, honestly, you'll see that something came out of that. Maybe a lesson, maybe a deeper understanding of yourself. Maybe it opened your heart in a way nothing else could. Maybe it made you more compassionate, more grateful, more real. Pain doesn't just leave scars. It leaves wisdom. It leaves empathy. It leaves perspective. It leaves you with a story that someone else desperately needs to hear. Because here's the truth. The pain you're going through now might be the light someone else needs tomorrow. Your survival might be someone else's hope. There's something deeply spiritual about pain. It strips away the noise. It pulls us out of illusion. It brings us to our knees, not to crush us, but to show us what matters. It humbles us. And it teaches us, often the hard way, that we are not in control. And maybe we're not supposed to be. So if you're in pain right now, don't rush to escape it. Don't numb it. Don't silence it. Sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. Because when you allow yourself to fully feel it, you also allow yourself to fully heal from it. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and say, that season broke me, but it also built me. And you'll realize that it didn't come to destroy you. It came to awaken you. Your pain is not the end of your story. It's the birthplace of your transformation. We've been taught to chase feelings, to believe that if something feels right, then it must be right. And if it doesn't, then something's wrong. We apply that to everything, our relationships, our careers, and especially our spirituality. We start to think that if we don't feel close to God, we must be doing something wrong, or worse, that maybe He's no longer there. But faith was never meant to be built on feelings, because feelings change. They're unreliable. They shift with the weather of our lives. One moment you feel inspired, the next you feel empty. One moment you're grateful, the next you're overwhelmed. But faith, real faith, that's not emotional. That's a decision. A choice you make, not when everything is going well, but when nothing makes sense and you still decide to believe. There's this moment we all face in our spiritual journey when the high of inspiration fades and all you're left with is silence, confusion, and pain. And it's in that space, that gap between what you believe and what you feel, where faith is truly born. Not in the moments where you're surrounded by light, but in the moments where everything feels dark and you still say, I choose to trust. We wait for a feeling before we act. We wait to feel connected before we pray. We wait to feel strong before we surrender. But what if the power was never in the feeling? What if the breakthrough comes after the choice, not before it? Some of the most powerful prayers I've ever heard didn't sound poetic. They weren't shouted from a mountaintop. They were whispered from a place of desperation, confusion, even doubt. And yet, in those moments, they were the most real, because they came from decision, not emotion, from commitment, not comfort. We don't talk about that enough. About what it means to keep showing up, even when nothing inside you wants to keep trusting God when your heart is full of questions, to choose to believe, not because it's easy, but because you know the alternative is emptiness. There's this quiet kind of courage in people who've been disappointed and still choose to pray. There's a strength in someone who's been hurt but still chooses love. It's easy to have faith when life looks like a highlight reel. But real faith, the kind that holds you through every storm, is built when you decide to trust even when the feelings are gone. And let's be honest, sometimes feelings lie. You can feel alone and still be surrounded by love. You can feel hopeless and still have endless possibilities ahead of you. You can feel abandoned by God, and yet He's never left your side. If you let your feelings define your reality, you'll be on an emotional roller coaster your entire life. That's why your power lies in choosing. In waking up and saying, I don't feel strong, but I choose strength. I don't feel close to God, but I choose to trust Him. I don't feel clarity, but I choose faith. That's when transformation begins, not because your circumstances changed, but because you did. You might be thinking, but how can I choose something I don't feel? And that's the beauty of it. Choosing it anyway is what builds spiritual maturity. It's what turns belief into practice. It's where you stop living by inspiration and start living by intention. Faith isn't just for the good days. It's not just something you use when the sun is shining. It's what you lean on when everything else falls apart. It's your anchor in uncertainty, your compass when you're lost, your light when you can't see the path. And the most powerful truth is this: the more you choose faith when it's hardest, the more it becomes who you are. Not just what you do in moments of crisis, but what you live by every single day. You stop waiting for signs and you start walking with conviction. You stop chasing feelings and you start building foundations. Because here's what I've learned: the feelings do come back. The inspiration returns. The connection deepens. But only when you've learned to hold on when it wasn't there. That's when you discover the kind of faith that isn't fragile. It's not conditional. It's rooted, grounded, and real. So wherever you are right now, whether you feel lost or close, empty or full, remember this: you don't need to feel it to choose it. You don't need to have all the answers to keep believing. You don't need to see the finish line to keep running. Faith isn't about feeling God. It's about choosing Him even when you don't. Surrender is one of those words that makes people uncomfortable. We associate it with defeat, with giving up, with weakness. We're raised in a world that teaches us to push harder, fight more, control everything. We're told, don't let go, hold on tighter. But the truth is, some of the most powerful moments in life happen not when we grip tighter, but when we finally release. Surrender isn't about quitting. It's about trust. It's not saying, I don't care anymore. It's saying, I've done all I can, and now I trust what's beyond me. It's a shift from controlling everything to aligning with something greater. And that shift, that surrender, isn't weakness. It's one of the strongest things you'll ever do. We spend so much of our lives trying to write our own story with a pen that was never fully in our hands. We plan, we push, we predict. We set expectations, timelines, outcomes. And when things don't go our way, we get angry. We get scared. We think life's unfair or that we've been forgotten by God. But what if what we call misalignment is actually redirection? What if what looks like delay is actually divine timing? There's a peace that comes when you stop trying to control every detail and start trusting that even when things don't make sense, they're still part of the plan. That doesn't mean you stop caring or trying. It means you stop forcing. It means you release the outcome, not because you've given up, but because you've matured enough to know that control is an illusion. So many of us carry anxiety because we're holding on too tightly to our plans, to our expectations, to our image of how life should be. And the moment we realize we were never meant to carry it all, that's when freedom starts. That's when surrender begins. I've sat with people who've lost everything, their careers, their relationships, their health. And in their lowest moments, you know what they discovered. That surrender didn't mean the end. It meant the beginning. It meant letting go of who they thought they had to be, so they could become who they were truly meant to be. You don't grow by controlling life. You grow by trusting life. You grow by saying, this doesn't look like what I wanted, but maybe it's exactly what I needed. You grow by opening your hands and your heart, even when everything inside you wants to close up and protect. The ego tells us we have to figure everything out, that we have to be strong, always have a plan, always have answers. But surrender says, it's okay not to know. It says, I don't have to understand everything right now. I just have to trust that this moment is part of something bigger. And the truth is, surrender doesn't happen once. It's not a single decision. It's a daily choice. It's waking up and choosing peace over control. It's saying, I trust the process even when it's painful. I trust the timing even when it's slow. I trust the purpose even when I don't see it. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. That's where grace lives. That's where clarity is born. When you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? There's a kind of strength that comes when you let go, not of effort, but of expectation. When you stop trying to force the outcome and start being present with the process, that's not giving up. That's spiritual maturity. That's surrender. It's not easy. Letting go never is. We want certainty. We want control. But sometimes the most powerful prayer you can say is, I don't know what's next, but I trust that I'm not alone. And when you say that, when you really mean it, something shifts. Not always outside you, but inside you. You start to realize that even in the unknown, you are guided. Even in the delay, you are not forgotten. Even in the surrender, you are not powerless, you are aligned. Aligned with something greater. Aligned with purpose. Aligned with peace. So if life feels uncertain right now, if things aren't going the way you planned, don't tighten your grip. Open your hands. Open your heart. Let go. Not because you're losing, but because you're trusting. You're trusting that where you are right now is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a deeper alignment. Sometimes the breakthrough comes the moment you stop trying to control it.